Welcome back to another First and the 15th hosted by myself, Damelari. Today we're going to be talking about Prince. Remember, rent is also always, rent is always due. In an era marked by hyper-individualism, supplication and admiration, offers an ancient countercultural truth, and that truth begins with surrender. Reality just is more than a painting. It's an imprint of what it feels like to be in the flow, created in a burst of pure instinct. Preacher choir congregation is a visual philosophy on sacrifice and solidarity. Breaking past limiters is a study in emotional gravity and how connection both lifts and weighs us down. These are for sale. These are for sale. Extra, read all about it. These are for sale. If you want to buy any of these pieces, please message me. Just message me. Leave a YouTube comment. Leave an Instagram comment. Leave a TikTok comment. DM me if, you're able to DM me. And let's just talk about the painting that you like. And then, we can move from there. No friction, you don't need to get to my email. You don't need to get to my website. You don't need to, do all of these other things. If you want it, you can buy it. I'm kind of a bit scared. Like, for as much as I love all of this, I'm still in a weird phase whereby I'm just trying to understand what the business side of art really is, right? So I'm not gonna try and come and just say anything, because I don't know everything, right? I don't know everything. I'm really just here learning on my journey, and one thing I genuinely need to do is to start putting my work out there so that people can get it, honestly. And it's kind of difficult, in a way where it's like, this is probably the first time where I'm putting myself out there outside of my first book in 2019, right? It's the first time I'm putting myself out there with visual work. And this is a visual world that people don't really understand and don't really know. So, like, this video is for me to just be able to chat to anyone literally anyone that wants to buy my work and, appreciates what I do and is just here for me. So that's kind of like the main reason why I'm doing this video. So like, if you wanted to learn more about not just the prints that I'm doing, but the pieces themselves, that's like gonna be a really, really big thing, right? But also, what's the best way to put this? The value that I'm trying to put out there and the actual Ojiji themselves. Now, I talk about the Ojiji a lot. I talk about this my art practice a lot. I talk about my oeuvre a lot, and I'm not even gonna front. I know it can be confusing. I know it can be confusing to so many people, and I'm trying to pull it out there, not in a way where I'm trying to sell anything to anybody, but I'm so trying, you know what I'm saying? Not in a way where I'm trying to sell anything to anyone, but in a way where I'm talking about the subjects that really mean something to me, right? And the subjects that genuinely mean stuff to me is when we're talking about symbolism, when I'm talking about my iconography. We've got Adura Magba behind me, right? the first like video that I made was Adura Magba, and it was an inflection point. We're gonna be talking about another inflection point. There's reality drift right there. That was a benchmark for me. Doing this, put in perspective what it's gonna be like doing this. But yeah, like there's gonna be talking about so many different things that are part of this oeuvre, right? And when, like I said, iconography, symbolism, and then the essence of what Ojiji is. What I'm gonna be talking about today simply is my feelings. I'm gonna be talking about my feelings, and yeah, I hope it is conveyed to you all genuinely. But yeah, shout out to Adora Magba. But like, I just want to speak directly to my paintings, and especially the 4 paintings that I'm going to be making prints of. Each one has its own story, and there is a conversation around those pieces, right? So, as everyone should know, just a little reminder, each piece is kind of reflective of my personal meditations on particular subjects. So, one would be prayer and meditation. Another one would be play, so being able to have fun and play, and that balancing act between the two. And then it's kind of like an in between. It's like motion, it's like dynamic, so it's like it's something that everybody kind of can get with, but each painting has its own thought process that is surrounding that, right? So we have reality drift, which is in terms of motion, it's also dynamic, but at the same time it's still a meditation. When we talk about breaking past limiters, that is one that is full of dynamic poses. When we're talking about supplication and admiration, that is such a stoic piece on meditation. There are these things that come with each one that is representative of the overall oeuvre, but at the same time, like, there are those founding principles within them. This process has actually aided me structurally, especially when it comes to managing my time. Like, painting has actually helped me holistically. So mastering a craft is such a major thing to me. Like, I'm someone that needs to know things. I do feel like I fall back on that a lot, like I mentioned it earlier. But I am someone that needs to know things. But this whole process has really shown me that I don't need to be the bearer and the person that knows everything. Now, within my previous videos, I said just what I think. I said what I think in the most brazen manner possible. And I stand on pretty much everything that I said. And I have to stand on everything I say. But then also that puts into my mind that, like, even my words, they affected me. They affected me to the point where I had to be like, I have to live up to the things that I'm saying, because this isn't like a game. This is my life. This is people's lives that are listening to me and everything like that. So it just was one of those things. I am trying to lean in to this idea that I don't need to be serious, but this is the problem. I'm a meditative cat, man. I'm a guy. I'm Batman. I do love a joke. Humor is a nice defense mechanism, but at the end of the day, like, this is it. Like, when it comes down to it, I am more meditative and structural than anything else. But yeah, like I've made making an having an art career, a sustainable art career, a priority, and that comes with a lot of things, right? So that means making my paintings and selling them, selling the prints, selling my original work, selling books like my literature. That's a massive thing. That, like, the previous videos that I made, they were based on that, right? So they're all part of Aura Journal 2. Aura Journal 2 is my manifesto. Do you know what I mean? So it was quite important to me that I made those videos. That 3 hours that I spent speaking was of the utmost importance. But with all of those things, I'm trying to deliver on quality. Like, those videos were raw, but then when it comes down to the distilling of the importance of the things that I'm talking about, yeah, man, like, that is true. That is the truth right there. Like, we need to be able to disagree on some things and distinguish what we hold true. But yeah, with art and artists, we choose to be front and center. We're putting our emotions, philosophies, for me, on display. My emotion and my philosophies are on display here, and it is what I believe in, and that's hard. Like, for anybody, like, just imagine when you're trying to talk to somebody, when you want to have a relationship with somebody, and you have to tell them how you really feel, you know? And with every piece that I share, I'm telling you how I really feel. I'm telling you what I really believe. And it's been a journey. It's been almost a year since I started sharing my paintings. It's been almost 2 years since I started making this painting series. And for that, it's like, yo, I'm making something that not everybody's going to understand. So it's a true reflection of what I believe and even my biases. Do you know what I mean? I understand that the way I am and what I'm doing has biases attached to them. You gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, no, like, this is where we get into philosophy, right? So where I come from, art is actually considered a hobby, especially if you're making, let's say, a median income from it. Um, we I spoke about even when, the starving artist myth and everything like that, but specifically as it pertains to being an artist that is, let's say, middle class, that you make a median income, you're not really doing it like the way that people people will assume you're doing it. They want you to be a millionaire, or you're not somebody that's an artist, you're not super famous or anything like that, even though you are sustaining yourself, which is quite interesting, right? And I was taught a lesson by my dad. He told me that I'm the only one that understands what I want to do. And when I listen closely to that, it helped me understand that I am the bearer of my own career path. And that's not just in my house, that's in my community also. That is me understanding that where I am and the vantage point that I take in, the people that love me and know me is plentiful. But in terms of how my career path is treated, it's not as valued. Like, even some of my closest friends that don't do art, they don't value art in the way that I do. And one of those things is, like, I had to learn that, oh, like, this is just for me. I'm doing this solely for me. I had to really I really had to, like, put myself, not even in their shoes. I had to put myself in the mental position to understand that I have to fortify not just my mind, but my career path. I needed to make sure that I took it seriously, even though nobody else did. And that's something very, very hard for a lot of people to do. And that's notwithstanding the artist. You just have to have a high level of mental fortitude to do something like that. And for me, with my level of confidence and my level of mental fortitude, I still have this, chill attitude almost about how I go about my art. And obviously that's part of my personality. It's a counterbalance to how like intense I am with my philosophies. But my values do actually go forward and say, yo, if I'm gonna be serious in art, then I have to be able to relax in this. But there's so much of this that isn't relaxed. It's improbable to relax while doing this. It's actually improbable. And that's like one of the main issues. Because in business, we're not relaxed. And in essence, what I'm saying is that my values have to align with delivering a business as well as delivering art that doesn't feel forced, that doesn't feel mechanical, and all of these other things. So it helped me move on from all of these ideas that people would want to put on me, and it enabled me to know that I had to be serious by myself, and nobody's going to ask me to be serious about this. And that leads me on to the second point, is that nobody's come to save me. Nobody's come to save me. So I have to have total sustainability. I have to make this sustainable for myself. And that is a directive for my discipline, especially as a person, and my authority over my own subject matter. I had to ensure that this isn't something that I just understood or just cared for. It's something that I'm a consummate professional in all the time. And that's something that I wrote about. That's something I want to write about in Aura Journal 3. I do touch on it in Aura Journal 2. But being a consummate professional is of the essence. Like, obviously, with your philosophy and all of these other things, you kind of speak in like almost unreserved philosophical thoughts, right, in my manifesto and Aura Journal 2. But in terms of like just value system and structure and just like pros, like what is this, what does that mean, all of these other things, like being a consummate professional at all times is important. And sometimes that means that people aren't going to like the way that you're going about things, but they're going to respect it. And that is kind of one of the ways that I had to go about it. But yeah, and in doing that, in being a consummate professional, it means that I understand that I can get compensated fairly for this. And in knowing that I can get compensated fairly, it allows me to go about this in an unabashed way. And that is how I acquired the fundamentals of my art practice. That acknowledgement of how serious this is, whether people take it seriously or not. Everybody knows the track to become all of like insert field, especially fields that Nigerians love, right? But when it comes to art, there's not like a track for people to become very, very serious without a level of colonialism being attached to it. And for me, in my values, especially the level of independence that I adore, I have to be able to not just be a professional, but be a man of my industry, a man of my craft, and a man that is aligned with this whole world, this whole landscape. So that's where, understanding how to be a philosopher comes into play. That's where understanding how to be a craftsperson comes into play, an artisan. And all of those values have to align long term. And it takes a very, very long time to build up that, not just the resilience and understanding that I have to take this 100% seriously, but also the the level of intimate knowledge it takes to know what being serious actually feels like and what it actually looks like, which is, sometimes where people hear me being pensive, they think it's because of that's just my personality, or even like really thoughtful and, direct. And that is part of my personality, but it's also understanding that, there's a level of professionalism in understanding, sometimes it's not all a joke, sometimes it's not all charisma, sometimes this is just the way that things are done. So yeah, fam. This is supplication and admiration. In the work of supplication and admiration, I really wanted to delve into the desire for a higher purpose, our need for a higher calling, even though some people may be cynical to that effect. The conscious reality that I live, supplicating oneself to a higher power, is a form of admiration. It's the highest form of admiration, in fact. In the supplication and admiration, I see a lifestyle significance. Calling the names of the higher power and the being at its behest. When Rahman, when I say Rahim, Kareem, Rahif, all of these names, it's a major part of admiration and being at the behest to a higher power. Now, yeah, that's one part of you know supplication and admiration. I wanted to ensure, yeah, that I said that first, because even though this painting has nothing to do, well, I say nothing, but it has little to do with that's the specific rites and the prayer, the Islamic prayers. I think that there is value in understanding how I understand supplication and admiration first. So, in moving on, you know, I believe that living in the way that I'm supposed to, you know, I understand who I'm supplicating myself to and who I'm admiring. So when I say on a baser level now, and we're talking about more idolization and, people wanting to be famous, it's just a bunch of things that are part and parcel of what is the creative industry, or what people know as being an artist, especially musicians, right? One of the major things is that musicians are idolized, and especially in Korea, they're even called idols, right? And for us, words have power, and I believe that I have to delineate between the two. I have to be able to delineate between anyone thinking that I want to be admired or idolized, and understanding that I'm really just a champion of the people that I represent. Well, I want to be, if they would have me, or should I say I am willing if they would have me. And what that means is that, like, especially like I was saying in my videos, all three of them, from our journal to part of my manifesto and philosophy, that it is important that as artists we be of the people that we're trying to represent. And that is not to be an idol, that is not to be worshipped, that's not to be any of those things. That is just to be somebody that speaks loudly and proudly, right? The people that aren't afraid to call out the chaos when it happens. Let's continue. But yeah, so supplication and admiration isn't a religious painting. But religion is a fundamental part of supplication and admiration. It's really a reminder of who to supplicate to and who to admire. And there is only one being worthy of your admiration. I remember when I was looking for a role model, and this is a big thing, right? This is a major thing. Like, I saw that there was a gap. There was a gap in my thinking, and I don't even really remember why I was looking for a role model in particular, but I just remember me thinking about understanding that I do model myself after people, and I do get that, like, there is this thing, to being a human being, that we all are modeling ourselves after people. And I wanted to replace all my mental models with somebody, so I know that I'm distinctly trying to do that thing. And part of that journey was me understanding that the people I was modeling myself after, I don't look up to. Like, you take mannerisms and all of these other things, just the little idiosyncrasies. Like, when I do this comes from somewhere, you know what I mean? When, like, and that's part of the mimetic dialogue that, I was speaking about. Part of the mimetic dialogue is understanding what the memes are that we use to represent ourselves. And some of the memes that I use aren't just distinctly mine, they are from a place. They come from a place. And I had to ask myself, if from now on I'm being conscious about who I'm modeling myself after, that who would that be? And the only place that I could turn to after that was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I ensured to just continue in that way. Let me just run through this quickly. When we are the supplicant, we stay humble, we stay earnest. This can be your God or our ways of being. And it also counts culturally, it also counts socially, and our ways of knowing and being are governed by the ways of existing. And this is the thing, it's like, whether or not we know it consciously, subconsciously, we're always modeling ourselves after something. And for me, I just wanted to stay honest to that. I wanted to stay true to that. I wanted to actually do it actively. Because once I learned that regardless of whether you believe you're modeling yourself after somebody, you are. We humans don't just gather things and thoughts by ourselves. We are a social animal. Like, there's one thing that I really it's starting to itch my brain whenever people say it, is that, oh, that's a social construct, this is a social construct. Human beings make social constructs. That is part and parcel of the way that we exist. We exist to create these social constructs, these mental models, this maths of being. And like, okay, it's a social construct, then what? You're only going to live in that social construct, or you're going to go to another social construct, or you're going to make up your own. And then people will follow that social construct. So which one would you rather have it be? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's as long as we know that that's what we're doing, right? Like, we've got to be aware that that is what we're doing. But yeah, like, in today's epoch where people want to be individualistic, we adopt the cultures of people who are individualistic. And we can be the champions on earth, walking in the image of who we're supposed to be. And there's only one being worthy of admiration. I keep going on about this. But yeah, man, as the object of admiration, we are the teacher for the people who show that there's instances out there that we can rise above our station. So when there's, like, people that are presidents, they're governors, they are prime ministers, politicians, chiefs, sheikhs, imams, there's just a bunch of things, there's a myriad of things that a person can be in this life, right? That we can be admired for. Like, when I say champions, that's part of that. That's part of what is it that I believe an artist can be for society, is a champion, right? Is a champion of the people that understand that, this place is chaotic and we can make order of it. We make order of chaos. Some of us slap clay onto canvases. But yeah, anyways, man. Um, in an era marked by hyper individualism, supplication and admiration, offers an ancient countercultural truth, and that truth begins with surrender. And it challenges Western secularism, not with dogma, but with more of a quiet gravity, and it reflects the diasporic wisdom, post colonial healing, and reconnecting to Islamic spiritual tradition without exoticizing it. This is reverence rendered contemporary, is orthodoxy made modern, a quiet revolution. Supplication and admiration is a quiet and thunderous piece, and a contemporary relic of faith, humanity, and sacred intent. For the collector of this painting, it's a call to live both as a subject and object, to serve and inspire, to kneel and to rise. You know, this work belongs in a space that the silence speaks and values where we live. And it's where values live. Art isn't decoration, but it's direction. And I wanted to lead off with supplication and admiration because it just makes sense to me for that. Okay, let's move on to another painting. We gotta switch out. Perfect. Not really, but you know, we live. But yeah, man, this is reality drift. Look at it. Look at it. Reality drift is the second cutest of all my paintings. Um, second cute of that I'm selling. It is so symmetrical. Do you know what I mean? It's got like the diametric opposition. You know, it's got this contemporary leaning thing. And it also has this. There is no right way round with this painting. You, and that is one thing that I wanted to do when I made it. But yeah, this is the true intent. This is when I talk about fun. That was just fun. I think that was probably the first painting made for fun. And I bet that is the best way to start this, because I drafted Reality Drift, found the canvas and painted it all within a span of days. Usually I meditate on a piece. I take like weeks or months or whatever it is, and I paint it. Reality Drift is a landmark shift, right? And of the human mind and consciousness. And what I learned from Reality Drift is that trust in myself and trust in the process, and it became a watershed moment that I can trust my instincts. And while I'm making paintings, I can just go for it, and it can come out like I pictured it. It came out like I pictured it. It's crazy. I believe it was 3 days. It took me 3 days. It usually, like, with Adora Magba, 20 days it took me to do that. That meditation, that conscious, you know what I'm saying? Watch the video. I'll leave it in the cards, I think. But yeah, understanding Reality Drift isn't just about philosophy. It's about the actualization of a concept and understanding quality and the concept of mind that I can make something in the same week and it can be valuable and it can still be quality even though it was made like in a rapid succession, I guess. You know, you can say I painted it within a day, but yeah, like how long a painting takes doesn't really matter, fairly. It's just you know, that it's a matter of skill. Do you know what I mean? But that's one thing that Reality Drift taught me, is that I can make something that I want precisely. And it's like so interesting that I have these two, right? They were probably drafted in and around the same time, but this took me a year to do. Adura Magba, it took me a year to do. Reality Drift took me 3 days. Literally, I believe I finished almost a month to the day that I drafted Adura Magba. Like, I have the notes of when I first drafted it, and I do believe it's a month out. So it's 11 months to a year that it took me to do that. But yeah, the grey reference neutrality, and the two forms represents balance and reflection. And I'm reflecting back on myself in a neutral manner, and I can embrace my own concepts and not need to second guess myself. Painting with confidence, trusting my previous process, and trusting my concepts. Letting them all exist in the way that they should. So when you're talking about constant action and the flow of creativity and rhythm, and it just takes hold of you, that's probably part of the realest things that I could say. Sorry about that. That's one of the realest things. Shout out to Reality Drift, man. I get, because I know, yeah, that I get so in my depths, I get so conscious and methodical, and I understand that that loses people. And the contrast to that is that I open myself up, and it's just pure tantalization of this most fun thing that I'm enjoying and having. It's the most succulent feeling, and when that feeling passes, is okay. But because I'm so present in the moment, it feels like it lasts forever, and a day can just pass by. That if it takes me a day to paint something, like especially with Adora Magba, it's like it works really well for me when I'm painting it. Like, I remember when I was doing Adora Magba and even Reality Drift, right? I didn't want the time to end. But you know, it must come to pass. I love like the contra flow here, because like literally it took me 11 months to do that, and less than 72 hours to do this. So yeah, man. But yeah, in the instance of this, I can have all my waking hours be euphoric, and I can go to bed peaceful knowing that I'm having fun. The after effect is creating something that is infused with energy. Reality shifts to live with fun without chasing the dragon of temptation of a high and having it become naturally to you. Having all of this stuff come naturally to me is important. I accidentally was touching the wire. But yeah, man. Reality Drift is more than a painting. It's an imprint of what it feels like to be in the flow. Created in a burst of pure instinct. And this limited edition print captures a moment of quiet power. When the artist trusts the process, follows the rhythm, neutral but alive, abstract yet grounded, Reality Drift speaks to anyone seeking balance, clarity, and a deeper relationship with their creative pulse. Bring this piece into your space. As a reminder, the best things happen when we let go of the noise and let the current guide us. Minutes to do that. Let's see if I can do this. The painting that you've all been waiting for. This is preacher, choir, congregation. Come to the front, anybody that loves this painting as much as I do, because this is one of the the day that I let go of this painting is actually gonna be such a peak day. The day that somebody buys it, I just want it to go to a good home, man. I want preacher, choir, congregation to go to a good home. Bro. Bro. No, man. It's one of them ones. Alright, let's go. So yeah, when bro falls rising. Another name for this painting is bro, broski, brother, sis, sister and sister, sorority, fraternity, fellowship. The three-man cell that can take care of each other and help each other, each taking turns to be the choir, the preacher and the congregation. So this painting reminds me of, paintings of the denial of Peter, the betrayal of Christ, and John the Baptist, right? The expression of those actions gave way to understanding how to keep your brother. Being your brother's keeper. I think that comes from the Bible. Me, I have two other brothers, right? I have two other brothers. And my family don't mind being on my social media, but I don't share them on my social media, mainly because I've been public for so long that I've had people that aren't like my family follow me for so long that I felt weird sharing my family on there. So no one really knows my family on social media, but that notwithstanding, the point is that we were all raised to look after one another. Like, if I'm going outside, take your brother outside. If my other brother's going outside, take your brother outside. We were all supposed to support and guide one another, back each other. If your brother gets into altercation, you have to have him, because now it's your fault. Do you know what I mean? That's how I was raised. It was really like that. And if me and him will get into an altercation, we'll be mad at each other, but bro, we're still living in the same house, so we had to get over that. And that product became, regardless of whether I'm feeling happy, sad, or indifferent about my family, I have to understand that I'm always there for them, because they're always there for me. And that is the duty that we have unto each other. And as I'm on my journey, and especially on the path to gain true enlightenment, one can only pray for people who are supposed to be in your life and keep them there. And ensuring that the people that you want in your life are actually there. Do you know, bro, that was so deep. I have to say it again. Ensuring that the people that you want in your life are actually there. You know what I mean, fam? Golly. So yeah, we can try to take from this all we want, but the greatest things are gifted to us, are for free, and companionship is major to me. I care about culture, I care about camaraderie, and with my friends, we would hold each other accountable, and I will always do whatever I can to ensure that we was always on the same level, keeping up with one another, developing who we were supposed to be, sometimes even to my own detriment. There was a time where I was outside of uni, and I was like, yo, I had this thought in my head. It was a crazy thought. It was absolutely insane. But I really was like, yo, I'm making bread, but my bros ain't making bread. Should I just quit my job so that we can all be broke together? I was a fifth broke friend. Yo, you know them ones where it's like, yo, if you hang around 5 broke people, you'll be the 6th, or if you hang around 4 broke people, you'll be the 5th. Victim! Victim! I got out of that like toxic mentality, but you know what I'm saying? It's like that's only me being analogous to and obviously this is an allegory and an analogy to understanding that, like, yo, when I said when bro falls rising, I meant that. It's like, yo, it's not about, yo, this boy, this girl, they're down, let me get down into the barrel with them. It's like, let me pull them up, or let me even just keep my seatbelt on. Sometimes you're the congregation. Sometimes you're the congregation. Sometimes you're the preacher. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you're the choir. Sometimes you know what I'm saying? I don't even know which one's which anymore. Is that the preacher? Is that the choir? Is that the congregation? Preacher, choir, I don't know, man. Sometimes you're one or all of them. Anyway, man. But yeah, if bro falls, rise him. If bro falls, rise him. That was gonna be the name of that painting, but I wanted something more poetic. And I wanted something that was like less masculine orientated. I wanted something that was relatable, whether you were a man or not. So yeah, let's run through this though. Um, I sacrificed a lot of money, and I say that with no ill intent. I sacrificed a level of pay that I would have based on being around certain people, and I learned this from no one. And what I also learned is that no one's coming to save me. If I decide to be the fifth broke friend, none of them are coming to save me. Hilarious. If you want to be fun, we can get hilarious. yo, yo. The necessary thing for me is that from my own sacrifice and self-sacrifice, I learned that no one's coming to save me, and it may seem counterintuitive, or maybe it's very intuitive, right? Culture and camaraderie isn't just what I would do or what I would like it in terms of understanding me and in terms of doing what's necessary. The necessary thing for me to do is to know when I'm the preacher, when I'm the congregation, when I'm the choir. Sometimes I'm preaching about all sorts of self-development. Sometimes I'm learning about from my friend of how to develop as a man and a businessman. And sometimes I'm echoing the sentiments of my friends because that is what they live by. And I wholeheartedly agree. I'm the preacher, choir, and congregation. I'm acknowledging how we fulfill ourselves with community, for better or for worse. I care so much about community. Sometimes I listen like I'm the congregation. Sometimes I live and be as the individual who is being preached to. And sometimes I'm making someone listen to me. Willingly, of course, with consent. The keeper has felt responsible for others, often to their own detriment. They resonate with sacrificial leadership. The witness, moved by art that explores humanity, dignity, kinship, and self-reflection. The believer, not necessarily religious, but reverent. They see art as liturgy, ritual, and healing. Preacher, choir, congregation is a visual philosophy on sacrifice and solidarity. Paint and duty, painted with emotional depth and storytelling that is supposed to be intimate. It's a social construct. You know what I mean? Having the depth of like scripture or hadith, and being an allegory, just like in all storytelling and things of that nature. This piece is for those who know that true camaraderie, true culture, and the strongest structures are those that are built on fellowship. Whether you're hanging around in this sanctuary, study, or salon, it becomes a reminder that holding each other is the real art form. So, wherever this is, wherever, when you buy a preacher, choir, congregation, you know that like it is about society, it's about togetherness, it's about the people that we love, it's about friendship, it's about all of those things. Come on then, let's go for it. This painting is a discussion of the relational value and tension of people in predicaments. It can be self-inflicted or internal. The relationship dynamic between friends, co-workers, cohorts, or any platonic relationship. The tension internally of creating more work and people believe in, or the friction of friends and how they can overcome conflict with one another. What is the relational value between two or more people? And how do they share space and community with one another? Okay, let me talk candidly about breaking past limiters. This what this was the original form of Ojiji. Ojiji is a story about tension and space, right? This is where we talk about dynamics now. This is the dynamic portrait that I am depicting with the Ojiji. This is Sans Elegante pure. Well, no, it's Sans Elegante. Pure will come soon. But there's so much texture in this piece. And when we're talking about the space that each form occupies, we're talking about a composition that values each piece and sees the space between each one of the Ojiji and feels like we feel our emotion with that tension of what each form is feeling. When you're cramped in a space, when you're at unrest but you're laying down, when you feel like you're holding up everything by yourself, when you feel pressed against the corner, that is breaking past limiters. Let's keep going, man. Is it appropriate to be considered in your group to be considered the leader? If so, how much responsibility do you carry in your crew to make sure everyone does well? If it's not much, are you the leader or are you just a manager of personalities? Of all the paintings that I do, breaking past limiters is the concept of community. So, when community people make concessions, when in community, people make concessions when they're around one another. The space you absorb in people's minds fluctuates between day to day, and if you occupy too much space over a period of time, you become burdensome. I want to break past the burden of community, but we all hold weight on our shoulders of community. We have to look after one another. We know that sometimes we can make it on our own, but life isn't about being on your own. It's about being with the community. We can stand outside by ourselves, and we can even think that we're moving fast by ourselves because we aren't hindered by anyone or what people in our community will say. By the end of it though, we all know we can hit a wall. So managing how much you share of yourself in a space is important. Sometimes too many people can stimulate you all at once over a long period of time, and it tests the tensile strength of your friendship. Now it's up to you to manage a relationship between all people. You can sometimes be pressed against a wall, even when the answer, sometimes we have to break past limiters. We've got to break past. We have to create a sanctuary. We need empathy for ourselves and the empathy for people who we think are boxing us in. Because sometimes the box is only a place that they can exist in. That empathy has to be reciprocated. Breaking past limiters isn't just a visual proof of concept. It is a proof of community. It's a proof of a standard. It's a proof of quality. It is a proof of understanding. It is a proof that the reality that we live does not need to have us boxed in. Even when we think we don't need anyone, or we don't have a lot of chips on our side, and we think that the quality of people are on the other side, and no one is by our side, we can break past those limiters. We can remember who we're supposed to be. One thing with breaking past limiters, one of the most important things is that knowing that community, knowing that friendship is of absolute importance. I can't tell you how many times that like I'm in a community with people, and like obviously I'm the weird friend like that. If that hasn't come across on screen already, I don't know. But I'm what would be considered the weird friend. I'm the eccentric friend, right? And I understand this now as an adult. But when I was younger, I didn't really get it. I didn't get certain things. I didn't get social cues, and sometimes I saw them and I thought they were silly. And that's when I would say to myself, yo, I need to be alone, bro. I need to detach from all of these people and the rubbish that they come with. Sometimes I can even still feel like that. But what is of most importance is the knowing that I have to be in community regardless. So like I I have to live my raps. I can be here saying to people, oh yeah, community, preacher, choir, congregation, all of this stuff, da da da, supplication, admiration, reality drift, all of this, all of that. But bro, I get it. I was there. I'm one of those people. I had to assess myself and say, yo, Deech, as much as you can feel like this can be burdensome, I have to understand what are my limiters. What is limiting me from being around these people a whole lot? And I had to learn, not just from myself, but from others about myself and my relational value to them, and how much tension I bring people, and teach people how much tension they bring me. And in learning that, we learn how to be in community. We learn how to be better people within community. So yeah, like we need to live in the right reality and exist beyond our limits. Breaking past limiters is a study in emotional gravity and how connection both lifts and weighs us down. And this is for those that carry that without complaint, who felt boxed in by community expectations and kept showing up anyways, and felt relieved by, the community being able to hold us up because we didn't have anything left to give. This piece explores the relational stretch between individuals, the tension of leading, supporting, withdrawing, returning, painted with insight, empathy, and it's a reminder that true community requires space, reciprocity, and resilience. Let this piece anchor your space both as a challenge and an offering. How much of yourself are you willing to share, and when must you protect your peace? Let me read that again. How much of yourself are you willing to share, and when must you protect your peace? That's gang. That's all the paintings that I'm offering for print. Um, Thank you. I really appreciate it. I feel like I'm gonna have more to say, but I can only say that like I'm truly endeared to everyone that is participating in this thing with me. As like I don't know how this is going to go. I'm excited to go on this journey with everybody, and I am learning just as much as I am delivering and documenting these with everybody. So yeah, thank you again. This has been another first and 15th with myself, David Teach. Yo, we'll chat in a bit. Gang. Remember, rent is also always, 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 rent is always due.